Today, we're going to talk about the 5 main ways that clients get charged. This is a really important thing to talk about because if you're measuring for efficiency, then you want to know exactly where the time is going, exactly where the inputs are going and where the outputs are coming. When people get this wrong, they usually have bad relationships, or they're not seeing the results for what they're paying for, or there's not deadlines being hit. So we want to get this right. So at the end of this video, I'll also share what I do and maybe that can help. First up, the monthly retainer. The monthly retainer is a set base amount that the client gets charged per month to secure the availability of services from a freelancer or an agency. I say secure because the agency may require a retainer even if they don't perform any work that month. The reason that this is even a thing is because freelancers and agencies get busy, they start taking on more clients, and then they just don't have time to work with clients when they need the work. This range can be anywhere from a couple $100s up to a couple $1,000s, and even more sometimes. The benefit of this is clear. You're gonna always be able to have access to professionals whenever you need work done in your space. Now, the downside is there's gonna be some months that you're probably paying a retainer when very little is getting done. A good example of this business model would be like an ad agency who charges a retainer of a few $100s per month, whether they're running ads or not. But when they run the ads, that retainer might jump up, say to $1,500 or $2,500. When the ads are turned off, because there's tons of leads to take care of, that price is gonna go back down to a couple $100s while the automations play out, the nurturing sequences and email drips play out. Number 2, the hourly rate. The hourly rate is an agreed upon amount between the freelancer or agency and the client. A situation where this might apply is where the company already has a good workflow for what they're doing. If it's social media, or if it's accounting, or if it's payroll, if there's an actual step-by-step checklist and things have been working fine, they just need someone to do this, they know how long it's going to take on an hourly basis, this would be a good situation to hire on hourly. Hiring hourly might also make sense if you're doing it on Upwork, because Upwork provides a built-in screen recorder so that you can start tracking what input is going into some of this creative work. This makes it good if you're trying to build a process or a step-by-step checklist. The con for this is that some of the best talent are against this. It seems like it restricts their creativity if someone's always watching and the screen's always being recorded, and for privacy reasons. Another con or danger is ever billing a creative per hour, because creatives are never satisfied with their work and they're going to be incentivized to take longer on their projects. Number 3 is a growth partner. A growth partner is someone who is willing to grow with the company with little investment upfront from the client. They're typically someone who's willing to earn their cut and be paid out a percentage of sales or a percentage of revenue or a commission-based structure. This is a really good option for startups who don't have a lot of money and they find a contractor who's really confident in those results that he's assigned to and that he's gotten results in this area before. This can be great, especially if the contractor is willing to wait a long time to get paid out for these results. The cons or downside of this is if the company does grow to a substantial amount and the contractor is taking a substantial amount of the lead or of the commissions or of the sales, then at a certain point it's going to possibly become unbalanced. I mean, 20% or 10% of any sale is a lot. Maybe not when you're starting, but if these things aren't negotiated and you grow into a multiple 6-figure, multiple 7-figure, even 8-figure business, this is going to be a lot of money going to one spot. Number 4 is the set and forget fee, also known as the consultant fee. The consultant fee or the set and forget fee is where someone comes in and sets up a working system within the business for a large amount up front, then steps aside and lets that get managed really simply by the client or a VA. This model works really good when you have a business owner that wants to be involved in all the processes. They want to know the inputs, they want to know the outputs, they want to have control over things, they want a system in-house. These pricing models work really well in situations where the workflow or process doesn't have a lot to do with creativity, and it's just a really straight and cut, dry system. This doesn't mean that it couldn't be for a creative situation. I'm just saying that's a harder thing to tackle, especially when you consider the cons are that once the system is complete, you're going to have to manage that, whether that means getting a VA or hiring someone in-house to do that, or managing that yourself as a business owner. That can become quite burdensome over time. Before I get to number 5, if you're liking this content, give me a like and consider subscribing. Payment method number 5 is pay per project. This one's one of my favorites, and I saved it for last because of that. This is where you pay per result, whether that's per lead, per phone call, per set appointment, per campaign, per edit, per post, right? Everything has a cost to it based on its workflow, and this helps the budget stay nice and tight. You know exactly what you're going to get for the deliverables, and you know exactly what they're going to entail. What I like to do is pair this with, say, a consulting fee or a set and forget fee, because some of my clients want to bring the systems that I do in-house. This also provides my clients with an exit strategy. That way they're not feeling held hostage by me, who's the super creative person with all these super cool tricks. The cons with this are that sometimes the results can't be monitored until it's finished and produced, which is why you want to have setups and milestones per project. So as soon as the content calendar is made, it needs to be approved. As soon as the graphics in the video are edited, those need to be approved. As soon as the copywriting is done, that needs to be approved. Once it gets scheduled, it needs to be approved before it's published. That way, multiple steps along the way can be checked by the client and flagged if they need to be revised. With all of that said, there are times where you can find a mix of these working. Get creative with this. Hopefully this helps. Structure your projects, find your freelancers, find your contractors, and just really stay efficient. Now, if you want to see my full stack of tools that I use for managing social media and my clients, then click the video that's on the screen right now. Till next time, peace out.